Welcome back. So, this episode is actually an episode that I recorded a few months ago. So, it is not new. We have definitely moved on from this episode. However, it is still part of the series and part of the beginning. So, it still makes sense for me to air this episode. But I just want you guys to know that when you're listening to it, that it is a few months old. And moving forward, the episodes will kind of be more in the past tense since that's just not where I'm at anymore. So let's go ahead and get started and check out. I'm laughing because I know that this is going to be like a huge shock, but let's go ahead and check out the episode.
You've got Die on the Line on your podcast. So what's on her mind for you now? You are listening to Die on the Line.
Yes, people. I am pregnant. So welcome to my Holy Shit, I'm Pregnant series, the real life version. I know a lot of people, are excited about having kids. And nonetheless, kids are blessings. It's an amazing experience. But I want to talk about the nitty gritty. I want to talk about the ups and the downs and the in-betweens of pregnancy and just what it means to become a mom, especially at the age of 25. Not that you're not too young to be a parent, but you're definitely at that transition in your life where it's kind of your selfish years. So we're going to talk about that. And yes, but to just confirm and let you guys know, my baby is not a COVID baby. My baby is a Valentines baby that I was not aware of until about 2 months later. And I found out. My birthday was January 28th. I had a really amazing birthday. It was very small, intimate. I had dinner with my family, my boyfriend, and it was nice. And after dinner, my boyfriend and I were talking, and he just goes to tell me, I wouldn't mind having a kid with you. Like, our relationship is so different. You're the first girl I've ever met that's been like this whole 9 years. And at the time, it was very sweet. But nonetheless, it was a fucking setup. And I should have known from that moment, like, oh my gosh, but whatever. So, fast forward to Valentine's Day, which is about like 2 weeks later. And it was also our anniversary. So we went up to Miami. We enjoyed going to strip clubs. So we went to the strip club. We had an amazing time. We get back to the hotel. Of course, you're in Miami. So, you're doing a little more kinky things than usual. And I'm laughing because this is so crazy. And I had my period in February. And in March, my period didn't come. But also the thing about that was during this time was when COVID was starting to get serious. I was working at the hospital. I had just finished a 1 week express class at school during the spring break. So we were going through the transitions of school going virtually. I started to work more, so I was working full time. School went to virtual. We were not doing the internships anymore. The internships were virtual as well. So everything was it was just a lot of different things happening. So I didn't really pay much attention to my body or myself. But for me, nothing changed. Honestly, I wasn't using, the main signs that you get in the beginning, using the bathroom frequently, the weight gain, the boobs, all of that. I had nothing at all. And we did get a little crazy on my birthday on January 28th. So I took a plan B on January 28th just to be safe than sorry because, I just wasn't ready. And I feel like I'm entitled to that of not being ready to have a kid. And I can't stand you people who are like, well, why weren't you wearing a condom? Or why weren't you on birth control? Listen, okay? First of all, birth control is expensive, especially if you don't have insurance. And at the time, I was working only part-time. So I didn't have insurance. And the condom thing, yeah, you're right. However, me and my boyfriend were in a relationship for a long time. We were basically together for almost 2 years. So we were just not at that point where we were using condoms anymore. Point blank, and I'm going to say that with my chest because that's what it was. So Like I said, it took a plan B January 28th, and fast forward, it's March now, and I'm not getting any of those symptoms. I'm not feeling any of those ways. But for some reason, it was as if the universe was telling me I was pregnant because friends were making jokes about it. People were telling me that I looked pregnant, or what if I was? And I'm like, no way. There's absolutely no way. Like, out of all of the things, my body just may be reacting to working more, to the stress, to the transition. And that's perfectly normal. So then I had a massive headache for like a week, to the point that I was like taking 3 Advils a day. And that's not really like me. I really hate taking medicine, but these headaches were just so severe. And I'm just like, my goodness, what is going on? So I'm telling my mom how I'm feeling. And she's like, you might be pregnant. And I was like, no, there's no way. So that night, I took a test just to troll, like just because my mom was trolling me. And I'm just like, I'm taking this test to prove to this lady that I'm 100% not pregnant. Oh my goodness. That test came back positive. And I'm sitting there and I just started laughing. I just started laughing and crying and laughing and crying because I'm like, this has to be a joke. Like, this cannot be serious right now, especially because of the fact that when I went to the store, a lot of the tests were like empty. It was like a lot of them were sold out. So I'm thinking maybe somebody was just messing around with the test or playing around with it. And I just ended up getting a bad one. So I took the second one because I was like, maybe I didn't do it right. And it came back positive too. And I was like, okay. So, all right, guy, you got jokes. You got jokes, guy, you got jokes. So I'm just like, I'm laughing now, guys, because like, oh my gosh, if I would, it was just one of those things. And so then I look online and I make an appointment to go to Planned Parenthood to do a pregnancy verification because I'm like, I need this to be from a doctor. I need a professional to tell me these words because I am not understanding what this stick is saying, and this stick is wrong because there's just no freaking way. And I'm over here doing the time calculations and I'm like, no, 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 no. So I go to the doctor the next day. I left work early. Sure enough, they said that. And they said, by the way, you're about 8 weeks. So you're about 2 months pregnant. I'm 2 months what? 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 I'm 2 months what? Say it again. So I'm like hard down laughing. And the girl is laughing too because because I'm making a joke of it. And I was like, I think you should pee on a stick because this can't be right. And she's like, well, and I'm explaining everything to her. I'm explaining to her how like I was spotting not too long ago, so I thought that my period was coming or it was just light this month, and she was explaining to me about how that can be the inflammation period, not actually a real period, but it's like when when the sperm meets the egg. And I'm like, oh wow. And did you guys know that sperm can actually live up to 14 days? And be like alive. So if you don't get pregnant in 7 days, like you can get pregnant in 14. Isn't that crazy? So I'm like, okay, there's no way, there's just no way because me and my boyfriend have been mad careful. We've been doing the PNP method. And if for those who don't know what the PNP is, it's pull and pray. And I have been very serious about this. So I'm just like, okay, no. No, and for those who don't know, Planned Parenthood does not do sonograms unless you are going to get an abortion, just because they want to ensure that the baby is actually in there and it is actually in the uterus and in the correct place and all of that good jazz. So they weren't able to give me an ultrasound. So what I did the following week was I went to another doctor and I was able to get an ultrasound because I just did not believe it. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I 100% did not believe it. And you're thinking, well, Ty, you had 2 positive pregnancy tests, a pregnancy verification. What more did you need? I needed to see it, okay? That's what I needed. I'm a visual person. I got to see it to believe it. So I had to see it. And when I seen it, I was like, holy shit, there is really something in there. And I'm like, maybe it's a parasite. And the doctor's like, it has a heartbeat. And I'm like, okay, it's 2020. There's a lot of other strange things going on right now. So, I mean, it can be very much possible. And she's like, honey, I very much don't think that this is a parasite. You are definitely pregnant. And she told me that it happened around February 23rd, which kind of does make sense because around the time, like I said, we were celebrating our anniversary, a few days after Valentine's Day in Miami, after the strip club. So it just all started to come back to me. And I was just like, okay. Okay, and you can get pregnant off pre-cum because it was definitely 100% pre-cum. It was definitely not like he was like dumping a bucket in me, for sure, 100%. I can't disclose how I know that's not what it was. But like I said, if for 100%, it definitely was not him dumping a bucket. It definitely was probably pre-cum. And it was a wild night. So there we have it. And, at first, initially, and a lot throughout my pregnancy, I just felt like I wasn't ready. And I mean that in the sense that, I just graduated with my master's. I just kind of felt like I was ready to get settled into my life. I just was starting to get, my finances in order. I'm just now starting to plan to purchase my first home and plan to just move my life in a different direction. And just being a mom was not part of that plan. And you know how they say man makes plan and God laughs, and he does, because for me, I had my whole life planned out for the next 5 years. I have a 5-year goal, and I had my plan for those 5 years, and this was just not part of the plan. And I don't mean to say that to sound mean or not that I wasn't happy, but that's just honestly how I felt. And I think that we don't talk about that as much. We don't talk about those initial feelings of like not being ready and thinking about, okay, am I really ready to be a mom? And one of my biggest problems was when I was initially telling people was that you're going to be fine, Ty. Like, you're so strong. You're a great person. I always knew you would be a great mom. You're going to do well. And people like kind of dismissing my feelings as opposed to acknowledging the fact that I'm saying, hey, I'm not ready. And hey, I am honestly scared. I'm honestly scared. I'm scared about being a parent. Will I be a good parent? Am I qualified? Do I have the qualities? Am I going to be able to raise this kid in the way that they don't end up a serial killer or they don't end up a shitbag person? Like, am I capable? And that is 100% how I felt. And when I told my boyfriend, he's a lot more relaxed and chilled than I am. I'm the perfectionist, as I've stated in many episodes before. I'm the type of person that I have a plan, I have a goal, I have my mindset to these things. And he was like, we're going to be fine. And at the end of the day, it's whatever you want to do. I'm here with you either way. And we, of course, decided to have the baby and continue to live in that, and just move forward. However, it was scary. It was very scary. And I think that, as women, regardless if that father is involved, it's going to be primarily 100% your responsibility. Moms end up being single moms a lot more than dads end up being single dads. And not to say that, I'm not in love with my boyfriend or we don't have a great relationship. And it's not to say any of those things, but it's just to say that we are still new. We are still getting to know each other. There's still a lot of things we have yet to experience in our relationship. And babies are honestly make it or break it. They will either make your relationship and bring you closer together, or they will break your relationship and tear you guys apart, because it will force you to see things that you may have already seen as warning flags in relationships. But now it's like you have to address this. Like there's no way around it. So that's just honestly how I felt. And I don't want anybody to feel any type of way because this was, my experience and that's all that I can speak on. But I do want to open that conversation and open that dialogue of just having that feeling of not being ready, having that feeling where you don't have that initial connection, where you don't have that initial aha moment, because I didn't have it at first. I was just very much like, this isn't real. And it wasn't until my body started to change and my belly started to grow that I'm like, holy shit, this is real. And even then, it was still a little hard for me to connect. And I think that I'm going to go more into depth about that in another episode, because this is just, about finding out. But all I can say in my experience, please don't dismiss pregnant women's feelings to hormones. Yes, we are emotional. Yes, we do have more hormones than normal, but it doesn't dismiss the fact that we feel the way that we feel sometimes. And I think that a lot of things are missed, and people miss things like postpartum depression, anxiety, depression in general, because of the fact that they don't listen to what people are saying. They listen to what they want to hear, and then they try to cover it up with their own experiences, and they try to just let you know, oh, you'll be fine. And it's like, yeah, I may be fine, but right now this is how I feel, and that deserves to be validated 100%. So back to the happy notes, though. I want to hear your stories. What was your first pregnancy story? How did you react? How did you initially feel when you had those positive tests on those sticks? Or however it was that you found out. For a long time, I always told myself, watching those shows, I didn't know I was pregnant, people having babies in the toilet. I would always be like, there's no way a woman can not know they were pregnant. But legit, I was not aware for 2 whole months. I didn't feel not one thing. I wasn't sick, thank God. I wasn't more sleepy than normal. I didn't feel anything different. And then even the bathroom, the nurse was like, you weren't using the bathroom a lot? I'm like, well, I drink a lot of water already, so I'm already in the bathroom. So I wasn't thinking oh my gosh, I'm in the bathroom twice as much. I'm just like, oh my gosh, maybe I need to slow down on how much water I'm taking because I'm in the bathroom too much. And I kind of felt like, wow, Ty, that was probably, if there was a sign, that was probably the most sign, because my boobs didn't really hurt or anything like that. But like I said, let's talk about your stories. How did you find out? How are you feeling? And what are some things that you want to hear about in this series? I do have a preset list of episodes and list of topics that I want to talk about, but I am definitely open to changing that and adding new things if there is something specific that you guys want to talk about and I don't have on here yet. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you guys for listening to this podcast. If you are trying to figure out ways to support the podcast, what you can do is rate the podcast, follow, comment, subscribe, download on any platform that you are listening to this podcast on. Tell a friend, repost it on any platform that you are listening to the podcast. Use hashtag #RealLifeWithTy. The more that you do that is the more ways that other people can also find the podcast and help us get out there. And as you guys know, if you have any questions, suggestions, or want to leave me any comments, feel free to DM me at RealLifeWithTy. That's also my Twitter and Instagram, or you can email me at reallifewithty@gmail.com. Holla!
You've got Ty on the line.